You know, I've always wanted to grow a mustache, but I never could. Thankfully, the GX3 Pro already comes with one. It's called the Kaiser Wilhelm. Hey everyone, Vince here from AutoIndustriya, and what I have for you is the Geely GX3 Pro. Now, it's kind of a stormy, windy, rainy, floody day right now in Metro Manila, which is kind of a perfect time to drive one of these. Now, the GX3 Pro, it was first previewed at the Manila International Auto Show in April, but they said they weren't launching it yet, and now here it is. It's a 5-door A segment, I think, crossover, because it's only about 4 meters long, just a little bit over, and the height, well, I'm actually taller than this one. And that's something that's been really attractive in the Philippine market as of late. You've got things like the Toyota Raze, you've got the Kia Stonic, you've got the Chery Tiggo 2 Pro. All these models proving really popular amongst customers who want the versatility of an SUV, but in a more compact and very affordable price tag. That is something that's gonna be key. Now, before I really do get rained out right now, let me take you through the look. So, it's best to kind of think of the vehicle as a shrunken Azkara rather than a shrunken Coolray. And from the design details, you can kind of see what I mean. Look at the grille, it seems more Azkara to me, and it's also extended all the way out here as an accent for the headlights, which also kind of remind me of the Azkara. It actually even has this blue halo on the projectors. By the way, these are halogen projectors. So that's something that's going to be really interesting. But again, the interesting thing here is the look of the front. It really does look like it has a Kaiser Wilhelm, or maybe even a first order stormtrooper kind of look right there. It's something we're seeing in other models in the market, like the Kia Sorento, even the Honda Civic Type R. You can see here the dimensions, it really is just about 4 meters long. It does have a fairly long hood for the size of the vehicle. That's going to make a difference later on once we take you through inside. But looking at the wheels, sorry, they're not clean right now. Again, it's kind of hard to clean it right now, but it's 16 inches. It's got these tires that we actually haven't really heard of before, so hopefully on the road it's good. What's interesting here though, it does have these carbon fiber covered side mirrors, but the door, look at how it finishes there. Because once we pop this open, you can see how it's cut differently compared to a lot of other crossovers in the market. And speaking of crossovers, I'm kind of hesitant to call this a crossover, even though it does have decent ground clearance at 185 millimeters. But you look at the proportions of the vehicle, it's really more like a hatchback in many ways. That's something to keep in mind. Of course, they didn't even bother tucking in the door handles like here, similar to what Honda's been doing with some of their models like the HR-V. But really, it's all well and good. We'll show you the interior in a bit. It also has front and rear disc brakes, which is actually pretty cool. Now, maybe let's take a little bit of a break. The back of the GX3, well, you let me know what you think. It does have these nice taillights. Geely spelled out right there individually, unlike the one in the Coolray, which has a bar and then all these are kind of embossed in it. It doesn't have any fake tailpipes. Yay. It does also have the same kind of mustache motif it has in the front, which actually looks kind of good in the back as well. Similar to what Honda did with the, I think, second generation Jazz facelift. That one I kind of remember. Does have a diffuser there, but what's interesting here is the cargo space. It doesn't have a power tailgate, but I have my guy Zach to help me out. I'm putting him in there because he wore shorts on a Monday. Good job, Zach. So, anyways, let's take you through the cargo space. Now that we got Zach out of the way, I can show you the space of the vehicle because it's actually quite spacious. I mean, I did have Zach in here even with the cover and that kid's 6 foot flat. So, you can tell that the space here actually goes down quite a bit. It's about 8 inches there. So it does offer you more space. And underneath, you've got a spare tire, your toolkit. And you can even put some stuff there if you really want, but it's good that you have a spare tire, and then they push the floor here to go down to give you a lot more cargo room. In terms of height here, from here up to around here, or well, maybe not covering this part, it's about 34 inches, which is actually pretty good. From here to from the back to the seat while it's upright is about 25.5, and then from here to there, the side to side is about 38.5. But what's really good here, actually, I've already unlatched this. We can push that down, if we can, 60/40 style. If I can reach over and there you go, push that down, is you get a space that's actually quite longer. It's about 48, or basically about 4 feet from here to there. But you can see that it's not a full fold flat because the hinge of this one is actually a bit higher compared to that. It doesn't go down to the floor like you would find in, say, a Honda. It doesn't have the ULTR style system, but still, it's a pretty spacious area. Although I do wish they made the material here a little bit better because, I don't know, it doesn't look too neat when it's crumpled up like that. Anyways, also, Zach was able to get out because there's this device here that allows you to manually open the door if you're somehow stuck in the trunk of the GX3 Pro. Now, let's check out the engine bay. Powering the Geely GX3 Pro is a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. Yes, it's a 4-cylinder, not like the 3-cylinder in the Geely Coolray. It's not a turbo either, it's not a mild hybrid. This is a straight up NA 1.5 4-cylinder, which is why it's not shaking as much as the 3-cylinder examples. But also, it's fairly quiet for what it is and fairly smooth, especially in our kind of traffic. That's what you want. The transmission is a CVT driving the front wheels. It's got a manual mode, I'll show you later. In terms of power, this makes 102 PS and 142 Newton meters of torque, basically exactly the same as the Geely M Grand. What they did change from the M Grand though is the way the actual engine bay is arranged, because what they did, they have the air filter on top. In the M Grand, it was like right over here, but this one they don't have the space for that because you still have the headlights and you have the ECU right there and the battery here, which by the way, it's nice and covered, so they have the air filter there. The actual intake is right over here. So it does have a bit of height from the ground. It should help in water wading. Not that you'd be wading through a lot of water with your GX3 Pro anyway. But what we find interesting here, the hood prop, which is like a Honda, it does have a heat shield there, which is good, and heat shielding on the firewall because the intake is in front and the exhaust manifold is in the back. So now, let's check out the interior. The important phrase to remember here is frame of reference. Through what lens are you looking at the interior of the GX3 Pro from? If you're looking at it from, let's say, a Coolray, a vehicle we hold in a very, very high regard, then this will feel much more budget-oriented. But if you're looking at it through, let's say, a Toyota Raze or a Kia Stonic, then this is gonna feel fantastic because the seats, these are very nice. It comes in a nice shade of leather with the red stitching, some perforated panels here, which are actually really nice. You do have individual headrests, and it's actually quite comfortable, I think, for a long drive. You've got good visibility in front of you. The front seat does seem a bit slim, but still, when you compare it to some of its competitors in the class, especially the Daihatsu badge Toyotas, this is going to look really good. It's going to feel really good. You have like rear pockets here. You have USB port, USB-A port. You do not get rear AC vents in here. By the way, one thing I want to point out, the cover for the USB port seems a little bit flimsy. That might end up breaking off, pretty soon if somebody pulls on it too hard. But you do get a pocket down there. You got good deal of actually foot room or toe room or whatever you want to call that. Knee room right now, this is adjusted for a driver that's a little bit taller than me. So actually much taller than me. So my leg room, my knee room here is just a little bit there. But I would imagine if I was the one actually sitting there, then this would be, perfectly fine for whoever's here. I like what they did with the door cards. Yeah, again, it is a bit plasticky compared to some of the other models in the Geely lineup, but compared to its, again, natural competitors, this is perfectly fine. But I like the hockey stick theme here, the silver there, power windows, speaker down there. So really, it's all well and good. Grab handle here with a folding, I guess, coat hanger hook kind of thing. But yeah, It's a fairly good rear seat for the class, but really it's in front where I think a lot of the best bits are. So let's go up there. During the Manila International Auto Show in April, one thing I really noticed was that people were kind of walking past the Geely booth, walking past the GX3 Pro, which was actually shown there at the show. Maybe it was because there were a lot of other really nice budget offerings at that show, but also maybe because of the lighting, it kind of didn't show how kind of nice the interior is. And now looking at it, you know, we're out of the show, we're in kind of the, well, sun-ish light. But when you look at it now, when I look at it now, it's like, it's actually quite nice. Because the dashboard, the design, very, very clean. It kind of really reminds me of, I guess, something like the BRV, or maybe even a more compact version of the interior of the Geely M Grand. That's the kind of vibe it's giving off. Of course, this being a really, a real budget car, you do have a bit more plastic here, but by my eye anyway, looking at it without touching it, it actually looks very, very high grade. That's what you want. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the kind of budget cars coming out now in terms of materials, but at least the visuals are very nice. You have the screen here, AC vents, AC controls, everything looks good. Steering wheel, it's the D-cut type steering wheel, the flat bottom, and it's wrapped in this nice leather or leatherette, whatever this is. Got nice stitching there. It just all seems very well built. I mean, there's a grab handle here. This is actually how you can tell if something is well built, is when you try to move it, it doesn't squeak. I mean, everything's has a little bit of give, but it's not making any weird noises. Even the way you activate the shifter, I mean, it kind of feels very positive. That's what you want in a car like this. You touch the switches, it feels great to use. I mean, that's something we normally don't expect in a car of this price, and Geely does it very well. Now, looking out, the visibility is actually really good because they do have the windows here. They does have this little porthole here, and then of course the steeply raked windshield. But one thing I am noticing is that they did not go for what Honda does, because what Honda would do is they would move the A-pillar really far forward to the point where the dashboard is already almost on top of the engine, basically. Geely didn't do that for the GX3 or the X3 in other markets. So it is a bit further back. So what that does sacrifice is when it comes to the space inside. And you can actually see it when you look around. It does feel a bit more upright, a bit more closer to the driver, to the front passenger. So that's something to keep in mind. They really went for a hood, a vehicle with an actual real hood, not just a little lid kind of thing that you would normally see in Hondas. Now, the instrument cluster, it's a more classic dual dial style. So you have tachometer on the left, speedometer on the right, which goes up to 240. I don't think this can reach that, but still, it's there. You do have a smaller multi-info display here in the middle. So it has your usual stuff, door open, fuel, trip meter, that kind of thing. I think the fuel economy, there you go, fuel economy and range as well in the full tank. This also, I think, does have it doesn't have a tire pressure monitor, but it does have a low tire pressure warning. I'll check if that's actually correct. Now, for buttons, you have your audio controls right here on the right side with the Bluetooth, so that's always good. On the left side, you do have cruise control, which is nice. So you have the speed limiter, that's going to be useful, and then you have your cruise control with the, set your speed. It's pretty much the same for a lot of them. This one doesn't have the radar or adaptive or smart cruise control, but that's all well and good. We're not expecting it from this price range anyway. Now, behind the steering wheel, you do have the lights. It's not as nice as some of the others we've tried, but still, it's pretty good. You have the it's actually auto headlights, so that's good. Fog lights, this one's for the rear. And then you have the wiper stalk on the right side. So, moving on to the middle. You do have this screen here. And this screen, while it does look really, really nice, I mean, the resolution, again, that's something we really do like. It's very nicely defined. The screen itself is actually right here, and then it has buttons here. So it's not one of those edge-to-edge kind of things. So yeah, keep that in mind. I guess we're not paying for that yet. in this class, you have volume up, volume down, mute, back, usual telephone mode off and all that. And then you press this for the home button or press that depending on what you want to do. You do have AC controls here. So you do have the AC controls here as well, but when you do press any of these, it brings that up. So you can control either way, depending on what you want. The ignition button, of course, is right here. Now, this one does not have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. What you do have is Carbit Link or the Easy Connect or whatever they call it. And then we can go through some of the other features of the vehicle. So you have display adjustment there, sound adjustment there, including the speed sensitive volume. You have the connection there, you can do all that. But here's where it's interesting. You have the HVAC, which is the AC. So you can adjust all of that. So, I mean, we usually just keep all of this on anyway. Then you have the safety features of the vehicle. So this is where you have stability control. So if you notice, there's no button for a stability control here. It's all here. And then you can adjust things like while driving, entertainment is restricted. Close the doors when it locks, all that stuff. Here's a tire pressure monitor. Let's see. All it really does, it gives you the warning when it's low. So that's still pretty good considering what you're paying for this vehicle. But what's interesting here is the driving modes. Now, the driving modes of the vehicle is unusual because you have to activate it through here, meaning you have to go through the screen to be able to select it. There's no button here for you to do that. I mean, not that I can see anyway. There's no driving mode button all around the vehicle. So it's really through here. It's similar to the M Grand. So you can't just, like, I want to overtake, sport button, and then, you get a little bit faster response from the transmission. You can't do it here. So you have to do it here. So you have eco mode, sport, and comfort. That just varies how the CVT responds to your throttle input. So keep that in mind. But what's interesting though is that they put the control for the actual window, sorry, not the window, the sunroof, well, not here because in the M Grand they put it here. But for the GX3 Pro, it's right up here. So you do have your lamp and all that. You do also have the door ajar thing. But to open the sunroof, you do it there. It's a smaller sunroof. It's not a panoramic glass roof. Still, it's a very nice feature to have. And one feature that a lot of people really look for in these Chinese cars. One thing I want to note here though, is that the sunroof that they have is it's got this mesh thing here. So you're not really getting the full view if that's what you're after. It's kind of dotted for your pleasure. The shifter, again, I showed you this earlier. The lockup on each of the steps, the PRND, is actually very nice. It's very positive. And when you go into manual mode, right there, you have a manual mode here. And then shift forward, shift up, you push, shift down, you pull. So there's that. There's no paddle shifters in this vehicle. The cup holders, it's actually something I find really strange. By the way, I have the key right here. The cup holder I do find strange because my bottle, but by the way, it's in the bottle holder. This one will not fit in either because right now, won't fit there. Here, not really. Maybe for a smaller cup that's very, very, straight walled, this might work. But yeah, for my bottle, that's the first time that's happened. So again, this is not standard though. I mean, it's a little bit bigger than most, say, coffee cups. I think coffee cups would be perfectly fine there, but this one, I'm not too sure, so I just use it for the key. You got a handbrake, lever handbrake. Yeah, feels pretty good. Center armrest with a compartment inside. First impressions, GX3 Pro. It's surprisingly comfortable in the city. Now, we have to say surprisingly because we can't really expect great comfort out of a vehicle with such a short wheelbase. That is a given because in a short wheelbase car, meaning the distance between the front and rear tires, the shorter it is, the more uncomfortable it generally is because the front tires have less time to settle when you go over a bump. before the rear hits it and, you know, kind of shakes the whole vehicle. So you do feel that in this, but not as much as some of the other short wheelbase cars we've tried on the market. It's certainly, if I were to say now, I'd say it's much better than the Toyota Rays. Like, yeah, much better. I actually suspect that the tires may be still a little overinflated. I don't have time to go to a gas station right now to have it sorted out. But still, if it is overinflated, it's actually doing a very good job, at least the suspension. Now, driving it around, yes, the transmission is smooth because it is a CVT. There's no real shifting involved. If anything, it's really more like it's constantly varying. That's kind of on the nose right there for a CVT, but it is what it is. In terms of like city comfort, it's going to feel much smoother than any DCT. That's just a given. So when you're driving it around, all you have to really do is modulate your throttle pressure and you will be smooth. You will actually enjoy just driving it around town. It's going to be that way for you. The engine I already mentioned, it's also fairly smooth. I mean, considering where, you know, most Geelys are in terms of vibrations, it does manage it very well, but this one is just a lot smoother, a lot quieter, and I actually like it as a city drive. Now I have it in comfort mode, again, normal. In eco, I expect the throttle response will be a bit more sluggish. Yes, it is. So even though I'm already giving it, let's say maybe 50% throttle pressure, it's taking a while for the transmission to respond. That's really what these modes are for. When you have sport mode activated, so one quick prod, yeah, there it goes. It's not gonna feel like a, let's say, downshifting with a CVT, or I mean with a like a DCT. You can do the manual mode thing and do the, you know, the shifting yourself. So you can do that, but still, if you put it into sport mode, the response from the throttle pedal actually improves. I mean, we're not expecting great power from this, but that is going to come in handy if you're overtaking, let's say, on the way up to Baguio. And mind you, given that it's 102 PS, it's going to feel a lot, you know, more powerful than some of the sub 1 liter or 1 liter engines that you would find normally in this class. That is just a given. And one thing we did find strange was that the torque really developed so far high up the rev range compared to a lot of other vehicles on the market. So when you're driving around, if you want max torque, it's like 4,400 RPM. It's actually pretty high, which is, you know, to be expected, I guess, of a naturally aspirated engine. But we've been kind of spoiled by all these small turbo engines coming into the market. So there is that. But of course, turbo engines cost more, so there is a trade-off there. Now, when it comes to cost, particularly of driving it every day, fuel economy getting around 9.9 in this one, and mostly traffic. It's been heavy traffic lately, so there is that. We're going to take this out on the highway, and once we do, the numbers for the highway driving should come up in the supers right about now. I think the important question about the Geely GX3 Pro is, does it drive cheap? Because we have been spoiled by Geelys in the past. Coolray, Azkara, Okavango, all the vehicles drive very, very well, very comfortable. It feels far more premium than the price tag would normally allow. And does this GX3 Pro feel the same way? I would say yes, considering where this is priced. I think it drives much better than what the price tag would normally allow. Because manners on EDSA, it's good. Manners in town, really good. It's really maneuverable. Has a rear view camera. I mean, it doesn't have a 360 camera, but, you know, still, rear view is perfectly fine. It gives you the guidelines too. It's very easy to maneuver. When you're driving it around, it doesn't feel like, for example, when a truck passes you, even at faster speeds, you don't feel vulnerable because the vehicle feels solidly built, and that's what you want. There's no squeaking, no rattling, none of the sort. There's no drama, there's no unusual nerviness that you would expect in a cheaper vehicle. And that's what you want, especially at this price point. That is not expected. Now, speaking of price point, well, where does this fit? Let's go back to the warehouse so we can discuss that bit. Now, make no mistake about it, there is certainly a lot of promise with the Geely GX3 Pro. Now, in terms of driving dynamics, it won't be like the Coolray. We have to lay that out there. You're not gonna get the same kind of driving thrills that you get from the Coolray, the power, the handling, all that. But you will get is a great everyday car, especially in the metropolis. You'll enjoy weaving in and out of traffic, hopefully not too much in a safe manner, of course, but you'll enjoy making your way around traffic, making your way around very, very tight city streets and corners, all that stuff. And of course, it has a lot of features to really make it attractive, well, except for the lack of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But hey, a lot of the Geelys, actually none of the Geelys, have those anyway. Now, what's interesting here is that while the drive is surprising and the fitment is surprising, it's really the exterior look that has a lot of people split about the vehicle. And the important thing to remember here is that this model was launched in 1 BC. And by 1 BC, I mean 1 year before the Coolray in other markets around the world. Because this vehicle debuted in 2017, while the Coolray debuted in around 2018 or mid-2018. Here in the Philippines, maybe 1 year afterwards. So keep that in mind that the design is not as updated, although they have made some adjustments to the look compared to the versions they had in other markets that are known as, like, I think the X3 or Y3, or one market even calls it a Kung Fu cow. Whatever the case may be, this is a solid vehicle that actually drives pretty well. Hopefully, Geely's service has improved, because that's really the only thing holding them back in many ways in our market. Now, when it comes to price, that's also interesting to discuss, because the SRP of this is at 878,000 pesos. Now, some people will think that it's a bit high, and that I would actually contend the same. But in terms of the intro price, they're offering this now for, I think, 798. And at that price, I think it's going to be quite a steal. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Geely GX3 Pro. This is Vince of Auto Industria. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment.